This is Rob the Witch from Necronomicon, and you're watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. This is episode number 113. In today's guest, we're talking to Rob the Witch Tremblay. Hey, Rob is the frontman and guitarist for the band Necronomicon, kind of a black and death metal band from Montreal, Canada. Today we're going to be talking to him about what got him into metal and what made him want to be a guitarist and vocalist, as well as going through the history of Necronomicon. So without further ado, let's go talk to Rob. So what's up, guys? I'm here with Rob the Witch Tremblay from Necronomicon. How you doing today, Rob?
Doing good, doing good. You know, as much as we can do good in the after COVID.
It's so awesome. So before we get started, I just gotta ask: are you aware of like all the other bands named Necronomicon?
I know there's quite a few ones, yeah.
Yeah, I see like a list on like Metal Archives. I was wondering if any of the other Necronomicons try to like sue others for like, hey, that's my name, you can't use that or something.
Yeah, one band tried to do that with us.
Yeah, but there's like a bajillion Necronomicons. But I think
No,
you're like,
there's only been 6 in the story actually.
yeah, I was curious because I was just looking at Metal Archives. I think I've seen like quite a few Necronomicons, but you're like the only Necronomicon that matters.
Well, you know, there's one in Japan that actually pretty brutal. I mean, of course, these guys they do their stuff there. They don't bug anyone. They're three-piece band. They follow us actually. They've been sending quite a few. It's like, hey, you guys are fucking amazing and everything, you know.
Yeah,
That's the least known of them, I think. It was one in Brazil. They changed their name. They're not Necronomicon because they discovered us. They changed their name. There was one in Finland, I think, or Sweden. It was Necromicon. It was not Necronomicon.
oh
There's another one now that started really recent in South America somewhere.
yeah.
And there's of course like the funny one in Germany.
Yeah, yeah, and you should all like do a tour called like do a tour together, be like the battle for the true Necronomicon.
Oh, they pretend that they are the true Necronomicon, but at the same time, there was an interview and they were making fun of the name that about the Necronomicon itself, saying "fucking shitty book," and I was like, "So
And
why you call Necronomicon, you dumbass?" You know?
yeah, and you'll be like, hold my beer. I bet you they're like, we're the true Necronomicon, and you're all probably like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, it's like if you don't go with, you know, like the Lovecraftian theme and occult and stuff, you know, you can't be called Necronomicon. You know,
Yeah,
it's as
I
simple as
agree.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. So, kind of wanted the format of this is I want to do like a rundown of the catalog as well as talk about like your journey as an artist from where you started to now. But I'm always want to curious, like taking back to like young Rob Tremblay. Like, what were like the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to start singing and playing guitar?
Uh, well, I wanted to do music. I mean, basically music because of Kiss. Actually, it's as simple as that. Uh, there's no like 20 ways to see it, you know. And I was in the 70s, and you know, like, and I heard Kiss, and I lost my shit. I mean, the first time I heard that, it was like Detroit Rock City, I think. If I remember, the album Destroyer was just out, and everyone was like losing their shit on this. And I said, and I saw that, I heard it, and there was like, you know, I think they were on TV or something or a special event, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. You know, I went bought a show and like, you know, all that stuff, you know, like concerts, you know, with not just standing there playing, you know. Of course I liked music, but that was like, okay, I want to do that. I had, you know, that was the first thing. I was like pretty really young. I was not even playing music. After that, uh, you know, I started to listen to the other band, like, you know, like typical like I don't know, man, Iron Maiden, like
Yeah.
Judas Priest, and it was cool, but for me, and I liked the music better than Kiss actually. And but I still thought that Kiss was giving a show, and me, I was like, yeah, music is cool, but you need to It's like I said, it's like if you want to watch someone that just play music, I mean, there's so many bands like in jazz and classical and everything, you know. So for me, I was like, I was listening a lot of, always been listening a lot of classical music and other kind of music, but I was feeling like the rock, the metal, but you know what really would drive me to play guitar and sing at the same time. It almost came by default. So it's really hard to say, but I know that I took the bass first. It was pretty short, and on a practice I was with my brother. It was not even, it was before Necronomicon, and I did something on the guitar, and my brother was like, "Holy shit, you're way more comfortable than me on the guitar." So I switched to guitar, and it stayed like that, you know. But I wanted to, you know, I really wanted to play an instrument. But when I heard El Di Meola, it's not metal at all. I said, okay, I'm going to play guitar. Like officially, I want to play guitar, and I started to play guitar, and it's really hard. But when I discovered after that, like Celtic Frost, you know, Celtic Frost, you know, there was Venom. That was pretty much like into, you know, like, well, they give a show, they have like stuff, but the music is like dark, and it's not like just about fucking girls like Kiss, where, you know, just like talking about chicks. Because, you know, you have to remember I'm French at the base, so where I come from, no one speak English. So I was listening Kiss and I didn't understand the lyrics. When I discovered that was what it was about, I was like, holy that's so bad. That's so cheesy. I was like, okay. And I was still a kid, and I thought that was cheesy. So that give you an idea. And you know, but it just came by default, really, because it's not like, oh, I want to be like Jane Simmons, you know, or I want to be like, you know, Tom Warrior, you know, because like guitar and vocal, yes, I like the idea of a three-piece band, and it came pretty much from Celtic Frost and everything, because we tried a four-piece band for a while, didn't work that much, and I don't know, man. It just came like that. It just came like that. Say, someone like, yeah, we want to sing, you know, like, oh no, I'm gonna sing that song, and suddenly, oh, I can't do it. I can do it. I say, well, I'll try for the moment, and it stayed like that, you know. So it came almost by default, like doing solos, guitar solos. Like, no, I can play solo. Well, I'll do it. Well, you know.
All right. And how'd you get to know the guys in the band? Because I believe y'all formed in 1988.
Yeah. Well, back in the days, it was really different. You know, you start the band with, I mean, with your friends. You know that. Oh, I have a drum. Oh, I have a bass. Hey, let's do a band. You know, and you know, before it was even called Necronomicon, there was always conflict because, like, where I come from, everyone wanted to play Metallica. You know, they want to play cover, and you know, that's how it works. Even like some of the bands that my friends that I know these days that are still living there, they play bars and make money, but just playing songs of other people, and that's the easy way to do it, you know. And me, I always wanted to put this like, we need to play our own stuff, and so I kicked, you know, at one point you said, yeah, that's your friend, but you need to, you know, if you want to do something, you need to have like people that look at the same interest in the same way, the same trajectory that you can't have like just your friend because that's your friends. I don't want to play with my friends. Like, fuck that. At one point you put your priorities. So I started to look for other people, and the first Necronomicon original drummer was like an hour and a half away, and like, I'm talking, we a teenager, there wasn't, I mean, I didn't have a car, you know, transportation there is almost close to nothing, so I was doing hiking with my guitar, and middle of winter is pretty brutal, I can tell you that, you know, just
Yeah.
to play with a guy. And you need to watch out for your time, because you know that at that time there's almost nothing happening there anymore, so there's going to be less car on the road, so you're going to get stuck there, you know, in the night at minus whatever, you know. And
Oh shit, that's crazy.
so that was pretty, like, quite some time that I came back home with my hands were blue, you know. frostbitten and all that stuff, you know. So it was a guy in total different town, you know, and there was the only guy who knew about more extreme, that didn't wanted to play like Metallica, you know. He was listening to like Bathory and like whatever, you know, whatever what was around that time, you know, Pleasure to Kill, you know, Creator, Destruction, Sodom. So it was like more like fast stuff. So we started to work together, and uh you know, that's how it started. It was like, just like, hey, you know a guy, hey, I know a guy, you know, and we just meet, start to play, and it started like that. But we never had a really fixed bass player, so it's always pretty much been around me and the drummer. Fixed bass player were drummer, the bass player were just coming and going like most of the time. My brother filled in for like many years at one point because he played bass, and but you know, at the beginning, you know, and that's pretty much it, man. That's it, you know. It's one reason that I'm the only member left is because like everyone was like always seeing like it's too much work. It's too much. I say, yeah, it's too much work. If you want it easy, we need to move in the US because here it's harder than in US.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you gotta like be committed and committed. You can't just like half-ass it.
yeah, no, you need to put yourself all in, as simple as that. And it's a lot of sacrifices. I mean, it's the kind of sentence that always came back, but it's a reality.
All right. And tell me about like that first demo you did was called Morbid Ritual, which was released in early '92. Tell me about like
Anyone.
that what was that like? Because it's very the recording of that where is it recorded at? Because it just sounds very raw sounding.
Yeah. By the way, it was in '91. The at one point we didn't had any other tape, and our manager at the time like just took and just like put some corrector and put 92. He said it's it need to the people see that it's up to date. And I was like, yeah, but it's been recorded and released the first time in '91. Uh, so yeah, it was in a little studio out of nowhere at like in Lac Saint Jean, uh, Robertval. It's in the middle of nowhere. There was a music store having a studio there downstairs. So we went there, and the guy said, "Yeah, you need to do everything in one day." So uh, did everything in one day,
Wow.
$300, and
Holy shit.
drummer like played the entire shot. Bass player did the stuff, and we're trying a second guitarist that never played actually because he lost his shit there. He like totally froze, and it was like, I can't do it, I can't do it. So I played all the guitars, and we were running out of time because I don't remember where we lost time, probably because of the other guitarist. But the guy said, you don't have time, so we do the vocal. I said, yeah, but there's no solo and everything. I said, okay, whatever, I'll do the same at the same time. So I was standing there doing my vocal, and I had like my guitar, and when it was time to go like and doing my solos, I was doing my solo at the same time. So sometimes you hear the vocal like pitching, it's going the solo starting, and I was doing it in real time.
Oh shit. So it was just recorded live. It wasn't
Uh,
like tracked and
Almost live, yeah.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
know like
Well, that part, yes,
yeah,
was
because I
literally
know
live.
yeah, because I know like Black Sabbath for their first album, they recorded their whole first album in one day, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, we did that like in one day, and like and I don't remember exactly, but it was something like 5 or 6 hours that we did. Uh, and that was pretty intense. I mean, that was not I mean, back in the days, there was no computer and stuff. Like everything was on tape. So there's no like paste in and copy and stuff. Everything is there. Is there. You know, that's as simple as that. You know.
Yeah. And then flash forward to your next release, the Silver Key EP. Tell me about that. That did you want was
Yeah.
that also something with the demo to like just help just sent to labels to help get signed?
Actually, yes, yes and no, because like we're making a transition, and we dumped a bunch of songs. We were supposed to record another demo. I remember, or an album, if I remember. I'm it's really vague because we started to work with a label, and we're supposed to have like kind of a split album or something like that. And it went to hell. It went to hell, and so we were stuck by ourselves, and we had to we said, we need to do something. I mean, we've been already, it was like many years that we're the gap between, because we left a region, or northern region, when we were living. We relocated in Montreal and we had all to find apartments, jobs, and stuff like that. So it was quite demanding. And after a while, the guys from the band said, "Fuck that shit! I'm going back to my parents." So I had to find new members.
Yeah.
So yeah. So at one point, when it went to hell with the label, I said, "Okay, that's it." I said, "We need to do something." And so I said, "Well, the material is there, but it's gonna take too much time for this, that," because it was like all the Pharaoh of God stuff coming. And I said, "Well, we need to do something, but I don't want to release everything if we don't do a full album." So we did the Silver Key, put one song from the new stuff that were coming, that was Silver Key, and the other stuff, the other songs were from the era before that, the 90s, like the beginning of the 90s. Like at the time of Morbid Ritual, the other songs, like Morbid Ritual, Haunting Horror, Estonian, and it was a bunch of other songs, really for an entire album, that were already played live and needed to be recorded, but never been recorded. So we did Silver Key, and we started to get distributed. Yeah, we have like with like Pulverizer record, Relapse record for the US. I don't remember. Repulse in Europe, I think.
Yeah, and then tell me about like eventually you started playing around, I guess, like Montreal and stuff, and then eventually you got signed to your first label, which was called Hypnotic Records, and you put out your debut album, Pharaoh of Gods. What was that like, recording the debut full length Necronomicon album?
Again, it was like a different era. So it was like, again, on tape and all that stuff, like same for Silver Key. There's another story with another label in between. There was an entire album ready to record, and shit happened again. And people were start to say that we're sounding like Morbid Angel, because Morbid Angel was getting pretty popular at the time. They were pretty big. And people would start to say, because like we had the drummer that play on Pharaoh of God right after the recording of Silver Key.
Oh, wow.
The guy who recorded Silver Key, and it was out. And the guy, when we released Silver Key, the guy playing on Pharaoh was already in the band.
Yeah.
So we started to play new songs that were really faster, like on and I dropped maybe like 11 songs that people were starting to say, it sounds too much like this, too much like that, too much like this, and like that. And I just like erased everything. I just dumped everything. And they said, "Okay, well, I'll try something that I wanted to do." And it became Pharaoh of Gods. That was a lot of work, because the album is 1 hour long, and with the time we didn't have like the resources, like the technology to be able to do exactly all the ambience the way we wanted to do it. These days, pretty much any computer with VSTs can do it. And also people when we were working in the studio Peter Pan, they didn't understand what we were doing. They thought we were like doing 2 albums at the same time, and we wanted to pay only for one. So it started to create problems. And no, it's the same album. It's the same album. There's ambience and stuff, and the guy didn't believe us. So at one point, he seized all the fucking tape, and like was asking more money, you know. And the album was really in 1997, I think,
Yeah.
or 98, and it's been released in 1999.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason I have this press, which came out through Unique Leader Records right here.
Yeah, that's because like Hypnotic, we released the album with Hypnotic, and 2 months after, Hypnotic went bankrupt.
Oh, damn.
So we literally lost all our entire album, uh, all our rights, all everything. We didn't have like the physical copy, everything, and that broke the band literally at that time. The other member left. There was like, okay, that's it. That's all we invested like so much money, so much time for releasing an album. We had our release dates. We're doing shows with Creole Filth.
Oh,
Everything was going super good. And 2 months at one point was that people were starting to say, "There's no album in stores. There's no album." So people were sending emails to us like at the beginning of emails and letters, and we're at the show of the first night. We're there at the medley. There was 3,000 people, and we're like, direct support of Creole Phil, and like 30 minutes before, not even 15 minutes before we go on stage, the album arrived, and it was a mess. It was a mess. It was like the booklet was all printed like sideways, and colors were shit, and so people were like, so we can't sell that. We can't sell that. So they said, oh, we can reprint it. And time was passing, and everything went down. And it went bankrupt. We lost our rights. They grabbed all the albums. We lost everything. And the guys from the band, they were like, no, I can't do that anymore. That's too much. So I lost my album, I lost my rights, and I lost my band members. We tried to sell some singles around with other labels, compilations and stuff. And after 2 years, I think, of fighting, 2 or 3 years, 3 years, I've been able to come to like an agreement to have like the rights of Pharaoh of God back. And I literally gave it to Unique Leader. I said, please just release it properly.
Yeah.
And that's the story of Pharaoh of God.
I had no idea you guys went through so much shit for this album, and I definitely love this album, especially with like the Egyptian theme. It's just also has that vibe. It's also very dark too, in Before Nile.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of people thought, because it came around the same time that Nile started, I think. I personally never heard about really much about Nile. I think I heard one song once, and I don't follow them. I think they're way heavier than us. That's what I remember. But it's a different us. It's really the mystical, like the occult side, the ambient. We like a lot of ambience. Even back in the days when you listen to like the Silver Key was already like we started to play the song in 92, I think, in 93, and it came out in 95, I think, 96 or whatever, and we already have like operatic voice and shit, but we're already playing it live. Like I said, when we released Silver Key, we were playing, asking to play 45 minutes, so we're playing Pharaoh of God songs like years before, so if for us, we knew the song so well. It was, we were doing all that ambient stuff already, and like shakers and shit.
Yeah, and then flash forward to
And that was a pretty dark period.
Yeah, And flash forward to your next album, The Sacred Medicines, because usually with your first album, you have like your entire life to write, and there's a lot of hype that goes with the first album. When it came to making The Sacred Medicines, did you feel like pressure to follow up Pharaoh of Gods?
Zero, because I never had a plan to do exactly the same. I just go with the flow, how it comes, like I'm going with a point, I feel how it should be, and I do it. Uh, the thing that I changed, I did an less ambience music, because I noticed when we released Fire of God that the album was not super well received back in the days, because people were like thinking there was too much ambient stuff. And I mean, these days it's easy, a lot of bands do it. But back in the days, a lot of people, they were like, what the fuck? Why they don't just blast and that's it? And I was like, well, that's not us. That's how we are, you know? And that we had like slower songs and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but that's how we are. That's so I was pretty bummed about that. So on Sacred Medicine, I said, you know what? I'm gonna do less ambience, because it looks like people don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
So, and it was kind of like people always like coming back to me. It's like, oh, why you put some ambient? I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah, well, people don't care. So I do like less. They still have some, but there's way less. The album is way shorter. Uh, but I didn't have the feeling to say, hey, let's try to beat the other one or anything. Or other people were saying, oh, why I thought they were playing Egyptian metal. And no, we play whatever metal. We play metal. We play what the fuck we want. So myself been raised like my mom's second father was into a lot of native stuff, like spiritual native stuff. So for me, it's a part of how I've been raised. So it came natural at one point, like, let's do native stuff. Yeah, I know a lot about that. So it came like that. Had some new members, because like I said, the other guys left. Had some new members, did the stuff. The production there was the first time we're doing digital. We rented a house in Saguenay in the north and rented the entire gear, hired someone, and stayed there for 2 months and a half, like, and did the album.
Wow. And I
Yeah,
know
it
that,
was different way of work.
yeah, I know that this year is also the 20-year
And
anniversary of it.
oh yeah, really? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
how do you feel about it now, 20 years
But I
later?
know I didn't thought about it. Probably my manager would. That's probably what she meant. That she said, "Yeah, we're really releasing Sacred Medicine this year." Oops, did I said something no one knows?
Yeah, but
So yeah, we're gonna re-release it.
awesome. I still need to pick that up, and I still think it's great. Especially, I love like the song "Through the Doors of Time." It just bursts right from the get go. And did you feel like you just wanted to start the album like strong with that kind of song?
Actually, that yeah. From the start, I remember clearly when I was like, I was like, okay, we start the album with that. That was, I mean, that was pretty obvious.
Yeah,
It's like right in your face. It's one of the songs that I love the most playing on top of that, personally.
yeah, yeah. It's one of the best album openers of all time, in my opinion.
That was pretty cool. That was
Yeah,
pretty cool. I mean, that was pretty challenging in the way that we were like, we didn't have big budget. We had way less budget than when we produced like, the budget was a fraction. And with that we did everything. I mean, it's not a super big production, but everything is there. If I could remix it, I would like, but it would cost a lot of money. We'll see what's happening. And that's my manager taking care
uh,
decision like that and everything. But I know that like we did the special anniversary of Fire of God, the digipack that we released like 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever, with the revamp artwork and everything. And Sacred Medicine is going to come out, have a revamp artwork also. That's
oh damn.
really freaking awesome. I mean, the guy who did it is a long time, a guy that's worked with us for since Return of the Witch. And geez, dude, wait for to see the artwork. When you open the booklet and everything, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking
That's
forward to it.
really impressive.
Yeah. Then moving on
Yeah,
to
it's it.
yeah, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then moving on to the next
Now what I
album.
just said, yeah,
Yeah. Then moving
yeah,
on to the next album, The Return of the Witch. I noticed there was like almost like a 7 year gap between the Sacred Medicines and Return of the
yeah.
Witch. I was always curious what was the reason for the 7 years?
There's a lot that happened in my personal life. I had a car accident. That's one thing. While
Oh
we were in the
shit.
process of recording it,
Oh shit.
uh, yeah, I had a car. That's one thing. Well, I mean, we don't talk too much about it, but I had a car accident, and all my left hand was like, oh, everything was working, but everything was numb. Like I was feeling less, so I couldn't play guitar properly, and my diaphragm has been like, like just like squashed a little bit, so my voice was not coming out properly. Was like kind of bruised, something like that. I have a I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been a very long time. But I had to take many months, like 6 months doing nothing. Like just like trying, living, and I had concussion. I was like kind of weird. So we had started the production, and also the one of the problem is like this was a guy, I won't name that guy, that had a studio, like a big studio and everything, and he wanted to do like an album with a band that he knew that the album would go worldwide, just not staying local. So he made us a deal, but it started to be a little bit cringy, like in the studio, and it started to not go our way, and started to drag and drag and drag, really not professional. So at one point, it started to make threat to us, that is going to erase everything and this and that. And he didn't want it to work with us anymore. So we needed to work with someone else at the studio, and it started to go well. And that guy got pissed off for whatever reason.
Damn,
I
I have
got
no idea.
divorced. I had,
Yeah, that's crazy.
bunch of shit together, and at the end, I went to do my vocal. I had problem to sing properly. uh he erased the guy erased all the freaking drums. They said, we recorded. I remember my drummer was working really hard to record and be good and everything. And when we arrived to mix, he said, okay, we're doing sound replacement. I said, why we lost all this time playing drums, like
Damn.
weeks? Like, it was a hell. That's the worst production ever.
Damn.
It took like over a year just to do the album,
Damn. I had no idea.
plus my accident, plus personal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, did that like pretty much judge influence like the sound of the album in any ways with all the personal shit?
Yeah, and we got signed. We were signed with Napalm Record, uh, back in the days, and this time. And another thing is like we had the artwork and everything. The album was ready, and finally ready, and we sent everything, and they totally reject the artwork. They
Oh
said this
damn.
is fucking bullshit, and I was like, what? And it was like, okay, like, and we were like pretty shocked. I said, how you say that to the artist? The email was literally insulting the artist, like this and that. And I have never seen that in my entire life. I mean, the label, they have changed now. There was different staff and everything back in the days. But I was like, holy shit, this is brutal. And it was like, okay, now we're sending you like 5,000 euros and you're gonna hire that guy. And I was like, no, it's like that this is crazy. It's like we're gonna hold you so much money, like 5,000 euros, like 8,000 Canadian, like for a fucking album cover.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
So they wanted us to work with that specific guy, and we started to argue. So it took another whatever months.
Yeah,
So we finally started to work with our German artists that had one exposition like on the cover of Metal Hammer, and he started to have a little name. And so we went with that guy, and that fixed the problem. And he's still working with us, like doing like merch stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that was pretty brutal.
yeah,
But at the same time, that album came out, and we started to like, we went to play places we never played before, like Norway and like Ireland, and
oh wow.
stuff like that.
Damn, that's amazing. And then next album, Rise of the Elder Ones. I like that album. What was that like going from the Return of the Witch to this?
As simple as that. Like Return of the Witch is literally the album I hate the most, uh, because like when I don't listen to it at all. First, is the production sucks. Second, the songs are not worked. I mean, there was some stuff to tie it up, to rework a little bit, but because of everything that happened in studio, at this point was like, hey, we just want to finish the album. So we just
Yeah,
like threw everything away, uh, cut some songs, remove some songs, that some of these songs moved onto Rise of the Other Ones. So yeah, Rise of the Elder Ones. Again, we decided to try another formula for recording. We tried to go in a studio that was not doing metal.
yeah,
In Montreal, it was called Emery Street. Pretty big studio and everything. And we had like by that time we had our entire studio gear that we bought with time. Uh, Shitload of gear. And there was a place there. There was a studio that we could rent, and to produce the album ourselves. And we went there, install, start to test, doing all the plugs. And one of the main machine had some defects, and to repair it was thousands of dollars. So I was like, holy fuck, that's not a good start. So that guy was there, like in another part of the building. There was that studio, and he heard, so he came to see us, and it was like, "This is something I can do to help." I said, "Well, now we paid like months of rent for our studio, installing our studio, and we have electrical problem and stuff. Then we need to repair some of our stuff. It's gonna cost us like money." And he was like, yeah. So he said, how much money? I was like, this plus that. I said, okay, how much you put there, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, well, if we can move to your studio. And he was not sure at first. I was like, yeah, I'm going to give you this right now. We'll do it. And so we packed all the shit. We spent thousands of dollars again for nothing. Put everything back in our studio, our room, or locker room, and just went to that studio. And after, we lost many months again there. And of course, eventually we fixed all the machines and everything. But so we went there. uh we were working when he already had a tight schedule, so we're working like some time that he didn't have people, so it took a little bit longer. But it was a better result than what we were expecting. Again, there was some songs that we couldn't do properly because of there was leftover of Return of the Witch, and we're not used to work with that guy. But overall, it made his mark, and especially with the video clip,
yeah,
it did his mark
yeah.
pretty well, actually.
Yeah, and also this year is also the 10-year anniversary of this album. And I think if this is another, like, I guess,
Oh,
transitional record, because I know you also started like the use of like the atmospheric keyboard sounds, which gives it kind of like a very majestic kind of feel to it.
Actually, it's not keyboard, but
Yeah. Yeah,
there's
but
never been keyboard in Necronomicon.
yeah, but just like there's a sort of like
It's a VSTs.
yeah, yeah, but it still makes it sound fucking epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something, like I said, I wanted to do even back in the days, all the way back to Pharaoh of God, and even Silver Key, but we didn't have. I mean, the technology wasn't there.
Yeah. And then moving on to Advent of the Human God. I love this album. I think this is pretty much the first album I heard from you guys. And pretty much would later check out all your older stuff and stuff. What was that like making this album?
This album was like super cool and super weird because we, after the success of Rise of the Elder One, we said, hey, it worked at the other studio, said, let's just go back there. So we went back there and we said, hey, we have more time now to work on this and that. I said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we locked the studio, go there, start to do the stuff, finish the night, come back the next day. It's like, hey, something's different. What? No, something different. I'm telling you, something is different. It doesn't sound the same. So long story short, so we started to realize that the guy, when we're leaving, he was having other people to do more money. I don't want to say bad thing, but the guy have a drug addiction, and so he needed to make more money and stuff, or I think his fix or whatever call it. It's just like stuff had moved, microphone had moved, sounds were different, and when you're there like working in the studio, the guy doing cocaine on the fucking mixing board, that's not a good thing. uh I don't think it's productive. So we had a problem at the mix because of that, because the songs are not even. uh we're fortunate we mixed with Jeff Dagenet from Cataclysm, but it was a pretty really hard to try to make that even. But overall, and it's an album that was pretty satisfied. Uh, beside that, but yeah, that was this kind of stuff that like the orchestral part. We went to another studio to do it because I was not doing well at the studio, because of what I explained to you, that there was stuff was moving around and stuff was disappearing, and so I was like, I don't need that here. So while this getting cleared out, I hired another studio, the Silverwing studio, to do to go work with the orchestral, with all the violins and all the shit, because the guy is a pianist and is used to work like with music from video games and movies and bands too, but he was doing a lot of that. So I started to do like the entire orchestral part there, and it was more hot to what I wanted. So that changed the game for what was coming after.
Yeah, and I think this album is great. I especially love like that intro to Descent. Really just has that kind of build up feel, which leads into like the title track. I also love like you kind of have like little interludes, like the song Occultus Trinity, which goes right into unification of the four killers. I just think it just like this whole album, just every song just like flows perfectly within one another.
I came back a little bit with a little bit the same idea that I was doing on Fire of God, where I left it a little bit before. I was doing some interlude, but it was just like putting stuff. I put more time on this. Like I said, I was comfortable doing that, and I started to not doing it because people fucking hated it. But I was like, hey, at the end, you know what? That's my music. It's how I'm seeing it. And I'm someone who compose a lot. I always compose a lot of classical piece and interludes like that. I did that for other bands also. So for me, it was important. It's why I was a little bit more music-wise. I was a little bit more happy with that album. Because I was coming back to more what I left with the Pharaoh of God.
Yeah, yeah, and I also love how you did a cover of Celtic Frost's "Innocence and Wrath." What made you guys decide to cover that song in
Yeah.
particular?
Uh, this one because like it brought me back to when the album to Megatherium came out. Uh, that's kind of the intro, of the album. Uh, it start and you have like the timpanis and all the horns, French horns, and blasting, and there's no lyrics, and it's just like an intro. And I was like, it would be too easy to do like everyone do, like doing like Circle of Tyrant or Into the Crypt of Ray or the Throne Emperor and have like typical cover. And I was like, why don't do I make a cover of the one of the orchestral thing they did, an orchestral intro they did. And I talked with Tom Wire about it. And it was like, yeah, I want to do that one. And it was like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's just it's ambient, it's doom. It's like it's one of my influence. On top of that, Celtic Frost is one of my influence. So it's one of the reason that I wanted to have like ambience, like and like classical elements in my band. So I said, hey, I'm gonna do that. So it's gonna be really different. A lot of people didn't get it. They were like, why you didn't play an actual song? I said, yeah, but that's a song. That's an intro,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. And tell me about because the
personally
only
I like it. I think it's a really good version of it.
yeah, yeah, and I can't believe you got actually
What?
got to. I was telling you got to talk to got the blessing from Tom G Warrior himself. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I talked with him about it, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do that." And he said, "Go for it, go for it." It was super happy. It was like,
Awesome.
that's different. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do like the Throne Emperor. Yeah, great. Secret of Tyrant. Yeah, everyone did it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to do that one. It was like, oh yeah, man.
Wow. And then tell me about because the only time I ever saw you guys was 2016. You did that tour with it was supposed to be Marduk, but then they couldn't make it because of visa issues, and then Rotting Christ and Karakangred. Tell me about that tour because that's so far that's the only time I've seen you guys, and I'm way overdue for a Necronomicon show.
Oh, that's the only time you saw. Oh yeah, that was a yeah, that's pretty much it. That was that tour. Marduk was supposed to be there. That shit happened, and we were in Florida, and first show was canceled because like I don't remember exactly because we got there and they was like, yeah, the show is canceled, and I was like, okay. I was like, why? I said, yeah, I don't know who took the decision, who was the booker or tour manager, whatever. And it was just like they were afraid that people wouldn't show up. So I was like, okay, so stay in the parking lot and just waiting to go have food. And oh, there's a bar next door. Let's have a drink. And like people start to come and like, what's happening? I said, there's no show and everything. He said, why are you not playing? Blah blah. It's like, well, sorry. And by that time, it was the fact that they were waiting answers from other promoters to see how the ticket sales were going after Marduk announced that they were not coming. And actually, there was almost no refunds. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
We just like went there, did the tour. There was full pack pretty much every night.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. I was like, and I remember I was talking with Karen Kangren and the guy from Running Rest. I was like, we're so fucking lucky, man.
Yeah.
There's almost no refunds. So just went on, man.
Yeah.
That was
Be,
fucking cool.
yeah, just be like, fuck it, we're gonna play, play, and that I still think that was still one of the best shows I've
Yeah, I was
seen.
like, yeah, fuck, we're here.
It might as well.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then of course your latest album, Unis. I like this album. Tell me about like the recording of this album.
And that's pretty much the album I'm the proudest in many ways of course, there's always some bits and tiny stuff that, you know, I'm always getting, but it's the first album that I feel like that I had more, you know, I was like, I didn't feel any pressure from, you know, have someone outside saying, oh yeah, but we're gonna do it this way or whatever, because I was like, yeah, I got enough of bullshit. So Silverwing Studio that was playing for me before orchestral part moved outside Montreal to bigger place. So now they had the entire facility to do entire live bands and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit. And he showed me picture and I went to visit. And I was like, well, if you feel like doing it, we could do the next Necronomicon entirely here. And it was like, yeah, fuck yeah, man. It was super happy. So we just went there. We were the first band to try the new studio and just recorded everything. But already in the process, it was going way faster also. We were exactly that guy. We were connecting so well when working together already in the orchestration. So when we started to do the entire album, it was the same stuff. It was going really easy, like no fucking around. Everything was working. You know, where hey this, hey that, yeah, it was, yep, yep, yep. It was amazing. No problem with the musician either, except for my bass player, but that's a different story. But we went there, but already like recording, we wanted to make it to go to a step higher. And while we were recording, it was clear that we wanted to try to mix another place. There was some options thrown by my drummer at the time. I don't remember the name. There was a guy working with Flash God Apocalypse. Flash God Apocalypse, yeah. And but I didn't like personally. I didn't like their sound. I thought it was too in the same. That was not breathing enough. So at one point, I said, "Hey, I remember like touring with Septic Flesh like some years ago, like 2 years ago, whatever." And I was like, I heard the where we were like on the tour bus or whatever. I heard they were playing the new album that was coming out that week and everything. And I was like, this song was fucking phenomenal. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck like mixed that, but that was awesome. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And we're driving. And suddenly there was like a song from like Gojira. Coming like playing in the system, and I was like, holy shit. I said, I don't like Gojira, but that sounds the sound is amazing. They said, oh yeah, that's, you know, that's the guy from Machine Head. And I was like, the guy from Machine Head. I was like, yeah, okay. Stayed like that. After that, there's another like few minutes after, there's another song. I said, yeah, hey. And my drummer was like, it's the same guy that produced Gojira. I was like, okay, that sounds a lot too. I said, wait. And I took my phone and started to look at Septic Flesh, and actually was the same guy also. So there was something in the sound that just coming to pick me up every time. I was like, who produced that? Who? What? But it was always the same name. Always the same Logan Matter.
Yeah.
Always the same name coming back. And I was like, okay, that guy have a sound that it's getting me. Said it. Okay, I start to look. Five Finger, like Fruit Punch, whatever. Like Gojira, you know, name it Soulfly. And I was like, okay, that's gonna be expensive. So call a guy and say, hey, I'm Rob, Necronomicon, this, send him a song. He said, yeah, well, I said, you know, I don't need to do that very much anymore. You know, I choose my project. And I was like, yeah, it's all good, bro. It's like, you don't want to work with it, and I sent him 2-3 songs. And said, holy shit, I want to do that. It's like, okay, yeah. So I said, okay, we finished that on a phone, adjust some stuff the way you wanted to have it, sent the entire album, and I flew there for a week in Vegas because living in Las Vegas. So I flew there with my manager. We stayed there for a week and we mixed the album.
Wow.
And one thing I love is
That
I
was
love the
freaking awesome. And
yeah, and I love the opening song from Ashes into Flesh, and you got like the keyboard player from Dimmu Borgir, Gary Gerlios. I can never
yeah,
pronounce.
Galias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah. How'd you hook up with him to do like guest keyboards on the first song?
Also, he's just a long time friend. So uh, I know I know the guys from Dimmu Shagrat and Silinos and for over 20 years. Uh, they've been like really good friends. We've been playing together in the past uh, many shows actually. Galias, when he came in the band, it was just like natural, you know. It was just natural. They were coming here, Montreal, just hanging, having some drinks, and he became my friend at the same time, you know. So it was just like rolling, and exactly I wanted to have like the piano part. I was like, I want to ask Goliath. And my manager was like, "Yeah, just do it." So I called him and say, "Hey, bro, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm studio for like whatever singer, Norwegian singer. She need a chick that needed piano. I'm working on this, that, blah blah blah." Yeah, cool, cool. So you're already in studio? I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So and I said, "Well, I wouldn't need you to do that if you want to do it, you know." He said, "Oh yeah, shit, man. Like, I'm gonna do it." I said, "How will work?" I said, "Well, I'll send you money for the time in studio that you need to do that. I'll pay the studio for the time you're gonna be there."
Yeah.
I send him the money, and the rest is the story. You know?
Yeah, and one thing you also did, you also did the song "Cursed" entitled "Cursed 2019." What made you guys decide to redo like a song that you've done previously?
Well, it's Curse is the song from Morbid Ritual,
Yeah.
and the 2019 is because it's the 2019 version. So it's just like I wanted to have like something totally different. Just bring back a really old song from that I composed. Like it was released in 1991, but you know I was playing it like in 1990, I think. So at the beginning of the 90s. So I just wanted to like put it there and like see the, you know, like have the feel of the old school Necronomicon, like the first stuff in the first era that we were doing that. And even if it's different, you can still see like, you know, it connects somewhere, you know, but the still is has evolved a lot. uh but yeah, that's an idea I had. I was like, I feel like doing it something really old, like, you know, the demo is not available. Like, I mean, we can't remix it or anything because it's been lost. The tape have been lost because we didn't have the money to buy the tape at the time. So they were renting the tape. So when you were transferring everything, they were resing it and just rent it again. So it doesn't exist anymore. So I just say, hey, we're gonna re-record one song. So yeah,
Yeah, and being
maybe
as
one day I'm gonna re-record the entire demo.
yeah, and being has that now been a few like almost 4 years now since the release of Unnus. Have you started work on the next Necronomicon album? And what's the status with that?
Uh, yeah, well, there's songs that's been worked on. I think it's quite a few, like maybe 4 or 5. I think, I'm not sure because I haven't touched that in a little while now. Because like the beginning of 2022, we went on the road after COVID. We went on tour, and we saw how things have changed after COVID. And it was pretty much one of the hardest tour I did in my entire life. Uh, that was, I don't know, it's really different. And I mean, we did our tour and everything. It was like a month and a half on the road. And we just came back, and it was like kind of like, how it's like it hurts. It's like so different. And everyone started to release album like crazy. There's like new albums every fucking day, like nonstop. So I was like, I mean, it's not that I could have not do it. It's just I decided to wait a little bit. I just decided to wait a little bit. I mean, the stuff is there. That's like I know where I'm going with that and everything. Is that there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on, and it's funny we're talking. Me and Rome, bass player, we're talking about that just yesterday, and it's like, yeah, it's like how we do that now. It's like everyone's releasing like albums. There's so many albums. Everyone go crazy, and I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna need to do it somehow and just see how it goes. But it would have come out way before, it would be probably out already. It's just like I decided to hold it.
Right,
That's literally entire, that's me. I decided to hold it.
right. And kind of in the end, to sort of like wrap things up, what else is next for Necronomicon? Is there any new tours lined up? What's next for the band?
Uh, we already have some shows that started to be booked this year in Canada at the moment. Uh, we have festivals that we're lining, like in New Brunswick, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think it's in Quebec, like in deep east. Oh, it's a Gaspésie Metal Fest at Matan. And there's couple of other shows that are not announced yet that I can't talk about it, but I know it's two are confirmed already. Yeah, so it's gonna be around like probably June so far. I'm probably gonna take some time to set stuff for the album before uh, doing that. For US, we had some offers that was kind of weird. So we're like, after the tour last year, that was kind of really, I don't know, weird. So it's really hard, man. It's a hard time. So hopefully we're gonna go back in US because it's where I like the most touring. Personally, I like better touring in US than in Europe. It's why, and we're doing better in US also. So I like better, like it's next door, So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
a big US fan, so I
yeah,
like the States.
yeah. So before we go, just want to thank you for your this conversation. Rob, is just any final words you want to say to close this out?
Problem. Well, I can say like that. That's one thing for sure. Necronomicon is always like doing like ambience and dark stuff. We've been doing that for so long, and I know like a little while ago that was not super popular when we started. That was pretty like people were more into like typical brutal stuff, brutal death metal. It's a little bit more open to that these days, and I'm happy there's like people we notice in US that our crowd is your US crowd are pretty into it, and I'm really grateful. Even in Canada is doing a little bit better for some reason. That's pretty awkward. But it's just like, I just want to go back there, meet the people. Like I said, I like US a lot, so I'm always having a good time in US. People like, no matter what people I know say, oh, people hate US. Like, yeah, that's them hate it. I always have a good time in US, and I can't wait to go back. And that's
Yeah,
pretty much it.
yeah. And I'm looking forward to it. Hope you come to Atlanta. And I'm way overdue for a Necronomicon show.
Atlanta, yeah,
Yeah. So
it's been a while. Yeah.
yeah. So everybody, buddy Rob from Necronomicon. See you next time.